is this making me feel so upset? Sometimes it just feels like it's too much.
Von Willy Brands. Have you made that up?
No. Being an influencer is an incredibly exhausting job.
I would hate to work for you. Do you feel at all proud of what you've achieved?
Yo, yo, yo.
Hi, my friends. My furry little friends.
Furry friends.
You look quite furry. You got wispy bits today.
I knew you were going to comment on the wispy bits because you aren't a fan of the wispies.
No, I don't mind.
You like a neat, groomed haircut hairstyle. The slip back.
Are you going for a different look today?
It's not by design. It's been a really rough morning.
Have you got a ponytail and a clip in? Is that a vibe?
No. I've just clipped it up really messily. I feel a bit scruffy. Can I tell you, I had a dream last night that we had a housewarming party. And it was a complete rager. It was wild. And I feel, have you ever had this before? I've got really drunk in my dream. And I've woken up feeling like drunk. I've been hit over the head with a frying pan. Like I feel like I've downed 2 litres of vodka. I've got a hangover. And it's strange because actually it's almost 4 years to the day that I haven't had a sip of alcohol around the time that Leo was conceived. So I don't know what my body's trying to tell me, but it was
Give
rough.
me a vodka.
And sometimes when you have dreams that are so visceral, like so real, I feel as though I've already lived a day before I've woken up. I don't feel refreshed. I haven't woken up feeling rejuvenated or rested at all. I feel like it was right before I woke up. I woke up and I was still in the haze of this party. I'd had like 3 hours of party.
Was it at this house or somewhere else?
Yeah, it was here.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really weird.
That's pretty nasty.
But it was actually like we'd invited loads of influencers and then loads of people didn't show up. So I think I had anxiety in the dream as well. I was very nervous about hosting and that anxiety has exhausted me.
Fucking
and then I woke up this morning.
You basically go through every day full of anxiety and now you're taking it to bed as well. I'm going to start sleeping in the spare room. This is bullshit.
I think you did sleep in the spare room last night, didn't you?
No.
Or you woke up. Woke up really early. You were nowhere to be seen in the bed.
I got up at 5, yeah, but I had to take Leo back to bed as well.
I'd say both of us are looking quite puffy this morning. You get a really heavy eyelid look.
I know.
And I look like a bullfrog. I'm so swollen around the left side of my neck. So if anyone wants to see this, tune into the YouTube episode because I can hardly open my eyes. And it's reminding me, I don't know whether I've had like a serious allergy to something I've eaten last night because I ate a lot of things that were very high in histamine that I haven't eaten in ages. Or whether I'm just allergic to parenting and working at the same time. But it's kind of reminding me of that time when you had that lotus allergy.
That wasn't a fat face though. That was I had a skin reaction. I had like prickly heat. You had it the other day.
I had it the other day and it made me realise I don't know why they put lotus in anything. Because everybody is allergic to the lotus flower.
Yeah, that got me good. I had to get back in the shower like 3 times.
That was really bad.
So what were you saying before apart from my swollen eyelids? Which I can actually feel. Maybe I should get some more coffee.
I feel like I've had a matcha this morning to try and wake myself up.
Mate, this is just parenting. Mate.
I also think that maybe it's got something to do with the fact that yesterday I did have multiple hospital visits and had a lot of blood taken out. Yeah, I feel like I had an appointment with a vampire. I've never had 15 vials taken before.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, isn't it? But then I looked it up. Actually, there's only about 5 mils in each vial. So that's probably 75 mils in total. And that's a fraction of, obviously, the blood that you have in your body.
That's still a lot.
I think when a woman has like a period, they lose, on average, about 75 mils over a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's an interesting stat.
But to have it all gone in one go, and when you're small...
Well, you've lived through worse, but yeah, that is a lot. I'd be flat on my face with 15 vials of blood taken.
I know. I was thinking of you when I had it done. I was laughing to the nurses.
You know, I have passed out on a blood test before in school in the sand. Hit the deck hard.
Have you actually?
Yeah. Hit the deck hard.
The last blood test that you've had, you never have them. I mean, which is fantastic. You're such a healthy body. But you did have your friend, who's a doctor called Aman, come round to the house, and he specialises in hormonal health. And you he drew some blood from you and you had to lie down on the sofa to have it done. And I had to massage your arm.
Yeah, it's better than fainting there. I really don't like needles, actually.
Well, this was awful. She did it and then it fell out and the whole like sort of container exploded and the suction came out. And then I got worried she was trying to reconnect it. And then I thought, oh, God, if you put the suction back on wrong, is it going to pump loads of air into my veins?
Oh, God.
But I think it's one of those things where if you go into it in a certain mindset, you're okay. I mean, I can have my blood taken and be so disconnected from it and not really care at all. And then other times I find it quite triggering.
I can imagine.
But equally, you know, grateful to be in a position where I can have all of these tests done on the NHS to try and see if there are lingering things that are wrong with me. I haven't even spoken to you about any of this. It was with the haemophilia team at the Hammersmith Hospital. And they're basically checking for something called von Willebrand's disease, which is really rare.
Von Willibrands? Have you made that up?
No.
Sorry. Von Willebrand's disease.
It's not. It doesn't need to be von Willy Brand's disease.
What did you say?
Von Willebrand's.
That's jokes. I kind of want it. What is it? What is von Willebrand's?
Well, apparently men, what did she say? I think men are less likely to have, essentially it's to do with your clotting factors. So if you've got really low levels of von Willebrand's factor in your blood, then you're more likely to bleed out. Oh. And actually when so it's somewhat affected by hormones. So men, you don't really have a vast like hormonal range throughout a cycle. You're very lucky, you're steady Eddie. Whereas obviously we have huge fluctuations and so it can be affected by estrogen and other hormones.
Right.
And actually during pregnancy, your body basically like naturally obviously floods you with all of these hormones so that you don't bleed as much. It kind of like builds throughout the whole pregnancy and then obviously it expects to lose a fair amount of blood during the contractions of the uterus at the end of pregnancy. So in a fight to kind of keep you alive, it increases the amount of this clotting factor. But I think that I might have low levels of it, which might have led to me bleeding excessively on so many occasions. And no one warned me before that I'd have to have so many vials taken out. It was a really, really great appointment that I had with a woman who had such an incredible approach because she'd done a lot of research on my history before I came into the appointment. And then she asked for my perspective on everything. And I just felt like, unlike so many other people, she really took me seriously. I often feel like I have to prove myself to a lot of these professionals. And also I often feel like I have to prove that I'm not going crazy and then it's not just the PTSD that's causing all of these symptoms. Because I think people read about what I've gone through and then they label me with a mental health disorder and they think, okay, well, that's that. And let's just put it all to bed now. You've been through trauma, but there's nothing else we can do. But I know that I'm still suffering with certain things. And she said actually that they've got a really good relationship with they work closely with Queen Charlotte's Hospital, which is one of the leading maternal hospitals in the country, and that she can introduce me potentially to like a team of people that might be able to help with our options moving forward. And well, just in terms of any like future kind of fertility stuff, if you like.
Sorry, I thought she was a blood specialist.
So she is a blood specialist, but she works with really closely with people with blood disorders that then go on to want to have children or who get pregnant, and then they need to be, in that high risk category, and they have a lot of extra monitoring. But it was nice. It was nice. It was good.
Good.
I felt like really, I mean, I respected this woman a lot, and I could tell that she had a respect for me. It wasn't just like an in and out thing. So many people just trying to get through the day, I think. I could tell that she really cared. So yeah, we'll see. Watch this space. I think I get the results back in a few weeks.
What's a haemophiliac then? Is that someone who's scared of blood?
Oh, I've never heard of that before.
Or have I just made that up? Haemophiliac?
Maybe. Are you scared of blood?
No, not so much scared of blood, no.
Because I thought that it would be great at one point.
I'm not going to give blood.
For you, or I was going to work with the British blood donation charity, given that I've received so much blood product, and I'm very grateful to all of those out there who have donated, because without you guys, I wouldn't be here right now. And they reached out to me a while ago, and sadly, I'm not in a position to give blood. I would love to do it, and I give a lot of blood just to these vials to end up in the lobotomy department. But I can't because I've obviously got a lot of other people's blood in me. But it would be cool to go with somebody that I'm close to, and I think either you or my brother would be excellent candidates because you're both so healthy.
Step up, Sam. You can take that one.
Would you not do it? Could you not battle through the mental barrier in order to do something like that? So they take
more than 75 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
what's the other metric? It's not a litre. It's a pint.
Pints.
So you take a pint of blood, and it takes 2 weeks to replenish those stores in your body. I worked that out because when I was losing a pint of blood a week myself, I figured out that I wasn't going to survive very long if it takes 2 weeks to restore that 1 pint. But I think you could do it.
No, I could do it. Yeah. I could do it, of course, yeah. Don't know if I particularly want to or enjoy it, but I could do it, yeah.
Oh, this makes me sound like a terrible parent. I can't believe I'm starting it like this. But we are very lucky, and I'm sure a lot of parents will relate, because Leo's nursery runs throughout the year. He doesn't have term time and then these vast summer and Easter holidays and Christmas holidays. But today he does have an inset day, and it is in the middle of half term. So an inset day is where they have a teacher training day. I'm convinced that the teachers basically need a break because it's exhausting.
Yeah, fair.
And I think that any potential parents out there should know this. Don't be under the illusion that you can work and parent in tandem. Before we had a child, I genuinely thought that you could do the two together, but you can't. It's tough. And he was up quite a lot last night, and you kept taking him back to bed. Then I think you disappeared for a while. Did you sleep on his floor?
Yeah, well, I always end up falling asleep there because he doesn't let me go for at least 20 minutes. And within those 20 minutes, I'm back down to...
Did you get cold on the floor?
No, and I'm bollock naked as well.
It's probably quite nice. He's got the nicest floor in the whole house. He's got that soft carpet.
Yeah.
Cat's fur.
Yeah. To be fair, I would quite like to, after this, I'd quite like to spend the day with him, but I know you're taking him off for some soft play stuff, aren't you, with friends?
Yeah, I am.
That's
Which
nice.
is actually a really nice excuse to do that. So you very kindly took him out when I was feeling really fuzzy and battling with my hangover this morning.
Yep.
You took him out for an hour to have a coffee so I could get ready.
Mate, we've been out for 2 hours.
Have you been out for 2 hours?
Yeah, we've done the rounds, mate.
God, what have I done in 2 hours?
Wisp up your hair.
Yeah, not done a good job with my hair clip. And that's about it. Yeah, no, so this afternoon I'm actually going to take him out and do a little play date with some of my friends and their kids.
I think it's nice. I think it's a nice break for the staff of the nursery, which they very much deserve, but it forces the parents to then step away from work for the afternoon or morning or something. I think it's really nice. I think they should have more, actually.
Do you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're paying for it.
I think by the time the weekend comes around, I'm so goosed anyway. It's quite nice to have some energy midweek to take him out for a little activity. Speaking of the weekends, our weekends are now completely dedicated to that little tiger. And he doesn't really care, does he? We've started him back up at swimming. He clearly doesn't like his swimming instructor. We're going to have to switch that one.
Oh, Ryan, you can't say that.
Yeah, we can. He started tennis 2 weekends ago, which has gone pretty terribly.
He'll be fencing next.
Oh, no, he's not fencing, no. Jiu-jitsu, though. I walked past that place today. I was like, yeah, maybe the time is right for him now.
Yeah,
Get him in a little, what do they call it? Into the dojo?
Yeah. I mean, he's very lucky. I guess you do, when you have kids, that's kind of what you do. You start living outside of yourself.
Sorry?
Well, you just make plans for somebody else. You're basically a PA.
Who is?
We are, to Leo.
Oh,
we just
sorry,
schedule.
yeah.
Isn't that how it works? Like you basically schedule their life and you work around it.
Yeah.
It's quite fun though, because as
No,
long as you're
but
doing
I'm
things
gonna
where
be
you get
real.
to see them do cool stuff.
It's actually, the past 2 weekends have been quite difficult though, because I know that he is actually really, he's quite blessed in many ways. When you see him kick a football or swing a tennis racket in this house, I'm like, oh my God, this kid's good. Like, he's got the coordination and all that sort of stuff. Past 2 weekends, he's been so distracted, uninterested, and just won't get involved. And in my head, I'm like, please, this would be so much better for you and me and the whole group and teacher. It's really hard.
What, in the lessons?
Yeah, last Saturday, he did everything but listen to the instructions from the coach, from the tennis coach. He's playing motorbikes with the cones. Through the cones. And I'm like, no, we're here to play tennis, mate.
I get quite embarrassed by that kind of thing, normally. He had his first lesson, he was gold star student. We need to order some stars, by the way, and get one of those like fridge charts so we can start bribing him with nice things to do if he reaches the end of like a gold star line.
I even had it this morning, actually. I had one of those. I took him to the coffee shop. I was like, do you want a baby chino? Knowing he wouldn't drink it. He never drinks it. Got him a baby chino. Do you want a croissant? Yeah. And then he saw the cookie and he's like, I want a cookie. I was like, you can't have cookies for breakfast. It's not happening, mate. So then he sulked for the next 5 minutes in the coffee shop on the floor. And people were just, they could see the situation. They're like, yeah, I've been there before. But I'm like, we're now at that stage where it's like a negotiation. It doesn't quite go the way you want it to. And I'm like, dude, just play ball. Literally.
I think people talk a lot about the terrible twos, but we kind of breeze through the twos. I think the moment that they are able to communicate more and they start being quite assertive or boundary pushing, they start to learn their power. And he's definitely testing us a lot more. But I've spoken to other friends who have kids that are just turning 3 as well, and they are really struggling too. And I think the last few weeks have been tough because we don't know who's playing good cop, bad cop. I think
you always play good cop.
Oh, I
think
I'm a bit stricter than you are.
Sorry?
I think I'm stricter than you are.
No, you're not. You smother the boy in love, no matter what.
But then the problem is I'm probably slightly more extreme, which is not good because kids need stability, don't they? That's the one thing that they need is consistency, stability. But yeah, I do shower him with a lot of love, and then he'll sometimes really take the piss with me, and I get to the end of my tether and I'll snap. Whereas, yeah, you probably are a little bit more leveled. Thank you so much to British Airways for partnering with us on this episode. As we know, every journey we go on has a big impact on us. And I know that you recently went on a trip that had a huge impact on you. You ended up in the Sahara Desert.
I did, and I'm going back for more.
Are you going back again? You committed? Definitely, 100% doing it.
Today's actually the day where I have to give my decision. And I've had 2 friends pull out, so...
2?
Yeah.
You're doing it on your own this time? 250 kilometres?
Yeah, 250 kilometres, yeah. I don't know if I'll be doing it by myself.
So why are you going to do this one, and how is it different from last time?
The plan was always to do the one I've done as a sort of trial run, see if I can cope with the environment and the overall challenge. And if that went well, the plan was to progress to the big one. So the one in April is called the MDS Legend. It's 250 kilometres, and it's a 8-stage race. 8 days in the desert, basically. Wow. So it's bigger, it's longer, it's going to be harder, and of course the temperature is going to be a lot hotter because of the time of year. And actually, when I was there, the staff reminded me that the MDS Legend is a completely different ball game.
Do you have to be a legend to do it?
I don't know, but if I do it,
you just took that seriously.
If I do it, I will be a legend. Yeah. No.
There's another quite key factor making this one different to the last time.
The fact that you guys are going to come out.
Yes, we're going to be there at the finish line.
Well, I don't know if the logistics of that piece is going to work out how we hope it will.
Why?
Well, because you'll be in a hotel which will be hours away from where I will be.
Can't we get to the desert? Can't we get one of those cool like sand dune buggy things?
I mean, yeah, that's the movie version of it, but I'll be 5 hours deep into the Sahara. and that's just not fair for Leo to get on a coach or a buggy. But no, it'll be lovely to then return back to the hotel and have you guys there. I look forward to that. That'll be a nice moment.
I'm super excited. I haven't been to Morocco in ages.
So I was in Agadir. I don't know the geography entirely, but I was in Agadir. This time it'll be Marrakesh. I understand Marrakesh is a lot nicer. So that'll be exciting.
Have you been to Marrakesh before?
No, never been to Marrakesh.
I have.
But you have been?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I haven't been in years. I went with an ex. It was a bit of an interesting trip, but it was a beautiful place to visit.
Right.
They eat a lot of lamb.
Oh, yeah.
Like I just remember having loads of sausages, these like tiny little lamb sausages. I ate them every day. I think it was just, I turned into a lamb sausage.
I don't know if I've ever had a lamb sausage.
They have amazing souks, the markets. I think I'd like to see definitely Marrakesh again to see how much it's changed. But then I'd also quite like to go to the coast because I've heard it's beautiful. I've got beautiful beaches.
There was a really good surf scene in Agadir. But I think where we're going in Marrakesh is a lot more inland. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
I really want to get him some of those really cool Moroccan slippers, the leather ones with little gemstones on.
What, the little at the end?
They don't have to have the at the end. Just some sequins and a nice little
I did see those.
Because he's obsessed with slippers. Actually, as a family, we're all quite obsessed with slippers.
I saw those in the airport.
You're so obsessed with slippers.
Yes.
Ryan takes slippers home from any hotel that he's ever stayed at. He's got a stash of like 100 slippers in a drawer.
People on the actual race, by the way, because you've got to pack things in your race pack and it's got to be light and whatever else. Around the camp in the evenings, they would all whip out their hotel slippers because they packed down so small. And I was like, should have done the same.
What else are we going to do with Leo?
Well, in Agadir, I saw kids not too much older than him surfing, which just I found so cool. And then I also saw that they were doing on the beach like an outdoor gymnastics class. And these kids were not just like flick-flacking and backflips. They were doing like side somersault. Oh, I've actually got videos to show you of that.
You know, in Real Housewives, they always talk about muumuu. Like, oh God, Carl always wears muumuus. They're basically baggy clothes. Great. That like older women wear, like, you know, on holiday, a sarongi thing.
A pashmina.
Not a pashmina, but that is another very like sophisticated older lady thing.
Yeah. No,
they wear a muumuu, so maybe we'll get you a nice.
Sounds great.
Muumuu, like low V-neck, like sleeves, sort of linen-y thing with embellished sequins.
Oh yeah.
That's now you're getting.
We saw these, and Carlos also said he wants one of those. Looks like a bit like a poncho, like a poncho.
Yeah.
Like a Aztec-y kind of Mexican looking.
Yeah, it's
poncho.
like a kimono-y thing.
Kimono.
Yeah, one of them. I think it's always nice to come home with a garment from your travels.
I came home with a little camel, didn't I, last time? And I came back with Milka chocolate for you.
Yeah, which is just from the airport. Next time I'd quite like...
No. There's a sentiment.
At least a fridge magnet.
I did pick one of those up, didn't get it. The Milka chocolate for me, though, my dad, when he used to travel, used to always, it was either Milka or Toblerone.
Toblerone is such a travel chocolate. So I always used to go on these ski trips when I was a child, and I'd come back and bring my parents back chocolates. My dad always loved Toblerone, or I'd get them like Swiss chocolate. And then I'd always get these funny little like squirrels with fuzzy tails, you know, the wooden ones on skis.
Cute.
From a ski holiday. And so my poor parents had to just cling on to these things year after year, trip after trip.
Quite sweet, though.
All of these little prezzies I bring back that were just random tokens. Maybe like tree decorations.
Oh, yeah.
They've got snake charmers in Morocco.
Oh, no.
In Marrakesh, they're everywhere, these little snakes, and they're going with their recorders, piccolos.
We're not going anywhere near that.
Well, they're everywhere, so you'll struggle to avoid it.
Oh, no, I will. You watch me. Thank you so much to British Airways for partnering with us on this one.
Yes, British Airways will take care of you over a lifetime of journeys. You guys can book your flights at britishairways.com.
I've just been sent a message. Leo is in said coffee shop with Cookie in his face.
And with lots of magazines
Smiling.
With Paw Patrol toys in them.
That's cute, though.
Rubble from Paw Patrol.
Yeah. So yeah, the weekends have been quite tricky. Saturdays have turned into my Sundays. Saturday, I am so tired, but trying my best to be involved in these activities with Leo. But man, these weekends are...
I don't know why I've scheduled in all of these classes for 8 a.m. and 9 a.m.
I think it's a good idea, but I'm just like, wow, this is our reality for the next while.
I think it's really important to be honest about feeling tired. Like even yesterday. What? I do.
Okay.
It's something that I've struggled with for so long. I've always tried to bulldoze through. And even yesterday when I had an appointment with this gastro, I said, I just want to feel this good all the time. I want to feel full of adrenaline. Adrenaline.
I want to feel adrenaline.
Because I was going to say cortisol and adrenaline merge. That's the tiredness. Because I actually am someone that kind of feeds off the stress hormones.
Yeah.
And then when I don't feel like that, and when I feel kind of fatigued, I get really panicky. But it's not possible, obviously, to feel like that all the time.
You packing out the weekends with all these activities starting from the crack of dawn is it's a reflection of your personality.
You're
not
I've
very
realized?
good at slowing down at all.
So I've had a bit of a big light bulb moment this morning. Last night I was stupidly up until 1 a.m. working.
Which I find really annoying, by the way, because it impacts my sleep just to cut in.
And also I know that you care about me and my well-being, and it's not good for me.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. You ignore me anyway.
And I'm now eating into mornings, and I'm just having late nights, and I'm a morning person. But it's not working for me. And I've spent so much time on screens over the last few weeks, knowing that it's bad for me. And I think it's slightly because of, I think it is a bit of like a kind of a trauma reaction that I try to distract myself as much as possible in the week.
It's not a trauma reaction. You've always been this way.
Okay, I've always been that way, but I'm now even worse in a way.
Oh, right.
Because I don't like to have these moments of quiet because I'm worried about what's going to seep in. But then instead, the moment I do switch off, I just get flooded with panic because I haven't let myself process things throughout the week. I feel like with the amount of screen time I've had over the last few weeks, I'm not letting my brain process typical memories. And when I went on the motorbike with you last week, we kind of buzzed over to a meeting in Shoreditch. I wasn't able to be on my phone, and it took maybe an hour to get there. And it was really joyful, actually. I was kind of like alone with my thoughts, and it was something that I need to do more often.
Yeah, but we always land in this same situation. You know what to do, but you don't do it. So you're just on this loop.
Okay, so how can I need to commit to it, and what am I going to do? How do I do that?
I don't know why I'm struggling with such a simple question. It's just a case of setting your phone down and going for a walk with the dogs or something like that.
Okay, so that's maybe my challenge over the next few.
It shouldn't be a challenge.
Months. Well, I think I need to find a way of building it in because I'm not being disciplined enough with myself.
I had a similar conversation with your brother. I think two days ago when we went for a run, we were talking about all sorts of stuff that has happened over the past few years. Some stuff like super current, and we got onto the subject of like forms of therapy, maybe, which we've done different forms, both him and I. I was talking about how you can't. He's very much like you in the sense that if you sort of feel like you need to be busy the whole time to keep your mind preoccupied with stuff and keep busy. That's kind of your default as Thompson's, I think. But I don't think you can. That's not sustainable, and you can't outrun things. I really believe that you can't if you're actively trying to stay busy to avoid something, you're never going to win that race. It's always going to catch up with you at some point because something will slow you up, whether it's your health, which you've experienced, or you'll just trip over some obstacles that, I don't know. If you were of a better state of mind, you'd have the awareness and you'd have you'd be able to, navigate better. And he agreed. He's like, yeah, we are very much like that. And Sam's kind of...
You're so right what you've said. When we get into the state where we're so busy and we don't have enough time in between, we become very reactive to anything that goes slightly wrong.
Yeah, which is not
in our
great.
life, which is not good. And we overreact. And I found myself overreacting to a lot of things that are completely just...
But that's
not worth fussing over. And
reaction,
when I was in the hospital yesterday, it does actually make me a bit upset because I really don't want to be like this. Because I saw someone that was really unwell again yesterday, like limping out of the hospital, and I thought, why am I fussing over such pathetic things? I'm not saving babies. Like, I'm not in, I'm not, like, it's not life or death, the things that I'm worrying about. They're like tiny little decisions that I need to make in the day. And I think it's, unfortunately, if I don't have these reality checks, I get really like carried away with the pace of life.
Well, I've seen it recently. Your reactions to things are quite extreme.
I know.
And I just think that's really a reflection of what's inside you. That's not you as a person. It's just you've got some feelings and stuff bubbling around in there. And it's coming out in quite a volatile way.
I also think because I have... So what did they say? Even if you have a perceived thought of a threat, which I have obviously all the time with all these intrusive thoughts and things, your body creates the same amount of cortisol as it does when you're actually running away from the tiger, as cliche as that line is. I don't have the physical outlet to get rid of that cortisol from my body because I'm still not training and exercising. So it then all just amounts to this like huge amount of like
you need to
pressure in my head.
But that's where I would suggest you start with this, is finding an outlet that's suitable to where you're at. It doesn't have to be gym work at all. Like don't assume that, but it could be a dog walk, it could be going for, I mean, you used to love doing reformer Pilates and things like that.
I did, yeah. I did actually try
You have access to these classes. We have it literally 500 meters down the road. Well, I don't know, why don't you start by just allocating the same hour of the same Tuesday every week?
It sounds so simple, doesn't it?
Well,
and we're in such a privileged position where I have total like agency over my life. I could take a lunch break and go and do a class. I'm in control. Like I have that freedom.
So what is it?
But yeah, I'm keeping myself trapped in this like cage where I feel like I have to be, I don't know why I feel like I just can't break free and do nice things like that. Why in the day I have to like torture myself with work all the time. I don't know how I've gone from not being able to do anything at all to then like looking after myself to suddenly ending up in this place where I can't find the balance. And I do see it a lot in people like my brother who burns out all the time, and other people who are similar and have very similar personalities that are totally addicted to work. I think that there are like there's like a cluster of personality traits that definitely come together that I can see in a lot of people that I know to be very successful. And do they end up happy? More often than not, no, because they're not enjoying the fruits of their labor anyway, because they're so stressed all the time. And I see it in other people, and I don't want to be like that. So it's hard maybe to kind of see it in yourself, because obviously you're just living your own life. But
no, I think you see it in yourself. You just don't know how to fix it. But you can't pour from an empty
you're
cup.
The perfect.
Does that make sense to you? You can't pour from an empty cup. So if you want to like be your best version, to be the best mummy or the best partner or the best, I don't know, whatever it is, you like to be
colleague.
Perfect for everyone. You can't do that if you can't prioritize you and look after you first. There's nothing to give. There's nothing in the cup. You're almost trying too hard at everything. Somehow you make it work. I mean, let's also acknowledge, like, you got a lot of exciting projects going on. You're doing really well. Like, this is not me criticizing, but I view it very differently because I live with you, and it's not that peaceful. It's not that fun, and I can see, if the light from your laptop or phone is shining at 1 a.m., that's not great for me or you.
I don't know why I feel such urgency to get everything done.
But I don't have the answer.
What's the race to success? Like, what's the compromise is then health, and also doing nice things with the people you love, all for the sake of just growing and having a bigger bank balance.
I think this is a reflection of like the sort of nature of our industry. We don't really live in the real world, and what I mean by that is, if we drive to the gym that we use on the weekends, every car is Porsche, Mercedes, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Aston, and I'm like, this is wild. And then we go into I don't know, where else do we go? We go into we go to a birthday party, and like almost every parent there is extremely well dressed, probably wearing something like a Rolex or a Cartier, and the kids are impeccably dressed as well. And I'm like, I don't know if this is real world shit. I think we're living in a bit of a bubble. And like, there is this London in particular, but also the industry we're in with, it's all about performance and stats and engagement and who's got which campaign and oh, he's got that one. It's just a constant like looking over the garden fence to see how they're going. It's exhausting, and it creates this, you're never satisfied with your own patch. I see it, and it's, I don't know, I feel like that's...
I don't feel like my issue is so much comparing with what other people are doing and how they're watering their own patch. It's kind of a self. I don't know why I'm trying to race to have all of that stuff, because happiness comes from living in the present moment and not about what's happened to you in the past or about what something else could offer you. That's the thing. And someone I often have these kinds of conversations with, she always says, what do you think's going to happen when you have all of that? Do you think that it's going to offer up a certain feeling? Like, what's the feeling that you're looking for that is missing right now? Because having more stuff, I know what comes with having more stuff. Having more responsibility is a total ball ache. Like, the more things you have, the more things get broken, the more shit you have to deal with. Like, the more paperwork, it becomes...
With great power comes great responsibility, to quote Spider-Man.
But then I do look at someone like you, I've got to be honest, with so much envy daily, because we are opposites.
Well, don't look at it through an envious lens. Just
not in a weird way. I want to be you and I resent you for how.
No, I think there's a little fraction of resentment there.
Do you think?
Yes.
Do you?
Yesterday, I came into the kitchen and you were shooting content, and I was like, I'm just going out for a 13K run, which, by the way, I don't really want to do, but I have to do it because I've got another big race coming up. I reckon a glimmer of you were like, oh, you lucky bastard, you've got all this time just to go out plodding around by the river. But my time management is very different to yours. Ultimately, and again, this is not meant to be a snipe. I don't want to snipe you. But you're a control freak and you're a bit of a perfectionist, and that's exhausting for you and other people. But
I am envious that you get to go for a run in the middle of the day, because I feel like now I employ people that I have to be really on the ball to make sure that I'm
trust more
on top of that.
Show more trust.
And I'm learning how to trust and how to let go. And that's because it's taking time, because I've never had any experience in this space before. I've just been a sole agent with everything that I do. Well, for the most part, obviously I have an agent, but with all of how I run my life day to day, it's always been just a solo venture. And now I'm growing, and it's really hard for me to let people in and to also trust that other people will do work as well as I will.
I think hiring...
Because I know I know that I have a really strong work ethic. But now, I am noticing a lot of benefits of working with a team. And that is
But if you
fantastic.
listen to podcasts, Diary of a CEO perhaps is one example, Simon Sinek's another one. They always talk about the team and the culture of that environment around them. A lot of it rides on that.
100%.
But they also really emphasize, putting trust and power back into their hands. And if you do that, people will either step forward and show you like exactly what you want for them, or they don't. And then you know who should be in your team or not. So you should maybe, again, I don't have a team because I don't have enough money.
That's not true. That's actually not true. That's not true. At some point you will have a team. I think you could invest in a team, and you have to, if you want to grow and earn more money, you've got to invest in a team. And I feel like I need to invest more in people
maybe
now.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm slightly like at this turning point in my career where either I stay where I'm at now and I find comfort in that and I find a way of making that work, or I go, actually, I'm going to employ another person in the next couple of months, another person in the few months following that, and I keep growing like that. Because there's opportunity. I just know, I've really seen that there's opportunity in everything that I'm doing now. And I see so much room for growth, and I cannot physically hold on to all of it myself. Yeah. I have to loosen the reins, and I'm doing that, and I'm noticing so much more coming in, coming back to me as a result of trusting other people.
Do you feel at all proud of what you've achieved?
I have moments of feeling very proud.
If you should feel, let me tell you, you should feel proud. You've achieved a lot, and also
This is making me feel so upset.
You've also risen from the dead almost a few times, and you've gone straight back to the top of the tree. I can't think of the right way to articulate it, but you should be very proud of what you've achieved on the sort of work front. But you've built a home, you've built an amazing baby, you've built your health back up, you've written books, you've got the paperback coming out next. You're not even 35 yet. You've got a pretty healthy portfolio of properties. I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's just a lot. Like, it's just, I've got so much, but I'm so fucked. Sometimes it just feels like it's too much.
Yeah.
Like, to get to a point where I've got a man from HMRC coming to my door yesterday. I've got legal stuff that I'm dealing with. Like, I'm trying to take control over certain businesses. I liquidated one of my businesses, only 3 months ago. I'm still dealing with the aftermath of that. Trying to be a good parent. Trying to work on launching new things. Yeah, every week I seem to have, which I shouldn't say seem to have. I think people are under the assumption that we live an incredibly easy life. There are many aspects of our life that are so blessed.
Yeah.
But there are also a lot of issues, like trying to do things like that whilst also managing a chronic health condition where I have numerous appointments every week as well, on top of which I need to record and then make notes from and then follow up with, is so much. And then being somebody that wants to do everything really well, I'm not willing to perform badly because I don't like letting people down. And if I'm partnering with a brand on something, I will always give 150%. Mm-hmm. I want the work that I do to be good. Mm-hmm. And so then with every launch, people might think, okay, you're just an influencer. You're just out there having a lunch every day. You're having a good time. You're larking around with your brother. It's not true. I don't have a second in the day. I don't take a lunch break. Like, I am back to back with meetings. And I look at people who have grown really successful businesses that aren't necessarily influencers. And they have teams. You have to have a team. And they have teams of 10, 20, 50, 100 people. You have to scale up. And I've basically realized in the last 6 months that I'm doing like at least 5 people's jobs.
Sorry.
Like the copywriting, the writing with the magazine, so the You magazine article, like all of it takes hours. Like I write everything myself, and just to be like I'm not a journalist. Like I don't have any I don't have any journalism experience, and I wish that I could take a little bit of time back for myself so that I can step back and I can then sit here and say I actually do feel proud. I think it's also fine though to have like a bit of a burnt out moment and be like, it's all part of the journey. Like I don't need to be perfect. We can even talk about this.
You shouldn't be having burnout in the second month of a brand new year. You just shouldn't.
But this is why we're having this conversation.
No, and it's useful. And I think probably the emotional release that you're going through right now is I hope going to be helpful to you. But there's got to be some sort of like progression from this. And like as an example with the HMRC scare you had yesterday, like I'm straight on the phone trying to find a solution with your accountant. Not to meddle or interfere, but I'm just trying to steady the ship and try to offer some support where I can. With the amount of work that's on your plate, I don't need to go into detail because it will just be repeating what you've just said, but there is an awful lot and it can't be done by one person, probably not by 2 or 3, but I am trying to get some really experienced figures and people like my dad who has retired but worked at a very high level and is an expert in logistics and operations. And he is offered to have a aerial view of what's going on and help you streamline things. And I just wish that you'd be more relaxed and willing to accept the help. It really fucking annoys me when people don't accept the help.
I've had really fantastic conversations with him about stuff like this before.
Once on a napkin in a coffee shop, and you both loved it. To the point where my dad was like, "Oh my God, I've just found where Louise's lane is." Like, you both came alive. I know that my dad could help you with a lot of this stuff.
Well, that's what I need.
And if it's not my dad, I
need
have
a team
friends.
So I've had lunch with someone earlier this week who is the CEO of a very successful company, and I just had so many questions for her, and I haven't been surrounding myself with the right kinds of people. And now I've opened my eyes to this way of doing things. I need to just keep learning from people who are 10 steps ahead of me. But I guess because our industry, as you kind of touched on earlier in the conversation, is so unusual and we're not exactly living in the real world, it's not like I look at another influencer and go, oh, I want to, you're my goalpost. I want to be more like you. And that's so I kind of need to follow their path in order to get to that place. It doesn't really work like that. And I'm kind of finding a way. I feel like I don't want to be an influencer. I want to step back. I want to be, in 5 years' time, I want to be a 40-year-old that has grown successful businesses. And that's where I'm really struggling, because I know that I'm a fantastic business person and I'm growing, whether it's like the property business or various different things, doing that and being able to do that and having more of the serious conversations with people that just look like a lot of actually boring Zoom calls most of the time.
Can I just stop you there?
Can I just say, to do that, but then also to try and be, to do the influencer stuff where you are sharing.
You don't need to keep belittling the influencer.
No,
there's so many influencers and very, very, very few of them make it to the level that you play at.
I'm absolutely not belittling it at all. What I'm saying, I would never bite the hand that feeds me. But what I'm saying is that being an influencer is an incredibly exhausting job, because you have to you have to have 48 hours in a 24-hour period. Not only do you have to live, you then are sharing everything that you are doing as well.
Yeah, but there is different styles and approaches to the game. You don't have to have beautifully executed stories with curated text and font and GIFs, and it doesn't have to be all that all the time. It can be a lot more raw, rough and ready, and probably still have the same impact.
It's another thing that I struggle with. My brother will put out things that are very, very raw, very stripped back, crap quality. I feel like I can say that because he's incredibly successful, more successful than I am, and his stuff engages hugely well. Whereas I'm a details person and I'm meticulous in like a cover photo looking a certain way, and I've built my whole brand off of that. So trying to let go of that and to trust in being a bit more relaxed with it is. Yeah, but it feels scary.
I've seen you shoot content. When I shoot content, I use myself as the example to take the focus off you. When I shoot with Will, I don't even look at the camera at what he's captured in terms of video or still shot, because I trust him implicitly. I know that that's his lane and he'll get what I want, because we've had the conversations before, during, maybe afterwards. I trust him. But it means that the whole process is easier and shorter. We shoot, he's off to edit it, it's back to me, I'll create the whole story, and then we'll move on to the next one. I've seen you operate. Like, you look at every photo, every still frame of every video. Like, I'm like, dude, you can't be that overbearing. Let people do what they're paid to do, and let them do it. That's one of the changes you have to make. I would hate to work for you. I would hate to work for you.
Well, it's a good job we're not that couple. There's a lot of
you got to make some changes.
People in this space, their partners do work with them.
Well, we know how that works out, don't we? Because a lot of them are. You got to make some changes. And again, just to reiterate to you and to people listening, because this is not about me like highlighting your faults, but it's more a place of love and concern. Like, I do think that the way you operate like Alan fucking Sugar, but you do it from our home every day with a team of people. It's an intense environment. It's a lot. It's not that fun.
You're making out that I sit across the table and start pointing, going, "You're fired," to my employees. No one's ever going to want to work with me again with the things you're saying. I'm so not like that.
No, you're not firing. No, you're not doing that.
We have a really good time. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe, but it's intense.
And I'm not horrible like he is.
No. Okay, Alan Sugar is the wrong one then, but it's... Okay, back to what you were saying before. Like either you settle in and you stay in this level and you get content with it all, or you go to the next level. I think the answer for you is to go to the next level and make some real structural changes to how you go about your business. So more in your team, working in an office environment, going bigger, going bolder with it, relinquishing some of that responsibility, putting trust in this person and that person, sitting back a bit more and just enjoying the process more. That's for you. That's where that's where you should be heading towards, I think. Because you have the brain and you have the vision, you have everything that goes with it, but you're working too hard in this current state, and I think the tears suggest where you're at with it, and my fat eyelids confirm it as well. Anyway, we had some other things to talk about in this podcast, and it's been
I know.
I
was not expecting this at all. I think some of the things that you've just said to me are actually quite hard hitting. But I think it's really important to be honest about these kinds of things, even though they are upsetting. And I know that you can be quite mindful about not being too direct and not wanting to sound like you're attacking me, but they are things that I honestly need to think about. And because our foundation is so good, like I know that you're coming from a place of love, even though it sounds harsh.
We're talking about very personal, intricate dynamics of our lives, and the delivery of a conversation like this is so crucial, because I've had conversations where people have looked at how I'm going about stuff, and it's come across too direct, too blunt and hurtful, and it has the complete opposite effect to what it's designed to. So I'm working quite hard to make sure that this is not about like I'm doing it right, you're doing it wrong. It's definitely not that. I think actually what I'm trying to do is emphasize that you have a lot going on, but you also have a lot to be proud of, and there is solution to it, so that you can go even bigger if you want to.
And I can handle it. I can handle it.
Handle what?
I can handle the criticism.
Sweet. All right, we're moving on to a listener's message here. If you fancy listening to this one. She said, I have a difficult relationship with my parents. Hi, Louise and Ryan. I'm 31 and I'm really struggling with my relationship with my parents. They never ask how I'm doing, ever. This year has been especially tough for me health-wise, and I'm now considering counselling, something they are fully aware of. However, their perspective seems to be that I should just tell them if something's wrong. The problem is, I don't know even where to begin, and I'm frustrated that they think it's that simple. Is this a generational issue, or am I being too sensitive?
I think that is a bit of a generational thing, because I can relate to that.
I think it is as well.
Yeah, I think both of our sets of parents are quite stoic in their approach. We don't have many deep conversations, tricky conversations.
It's very difficult.
It's very difficult.
I always, I did it recently. I sent my dad an email, because that's the only way I can do it. I can't pick up the phone or face-to-face chat because I feel like 9 years old again. And I'm like, shit, I don't know if this is going to land well. So I write it. And then he's like, oh, hits him in the face.
And then it brings you closer together.
Yeah.
Because the communication is important. And I sometimes think, oh gosh, there are things that I want to say, or deep conversations I'd like to have with my parents before it's too late. And that would be a real shame, because it's a gift to be able to have a relationship with them while they're here. And I am lucky my parents both live in London and we do hang out a lot. But do we ever go that deep? Not really. Even when I'm in the hospital and they've come to visit. Do we talk about the important stuff? Often not. We just brush it under the carpet.
It's a generational thing. There's a lot of unsaid stuff. There's a lot, and it's very, because it compounds and it just piles up over years and years and years. Not just your childhood, but as adults, like it's very difficult. It's like, I think she even said, like, where do you even begin? Because she wants to have a conversation, but it's like, oh, I've got so much. There's so much that I want to speak to you about.
I've actually been thinking about doing this for a while anyway, but I think we should get. Oh, I feel anxious even saying it out loud. I think we should get our members of our family on the podcast to have tricky conversations.
Ooh, fuck's sake.
I know.
That's big.
Isn't it hard? Looking them in the eye in this close proximity.
Oh, mate, I
And
mean,
having to talk about things or ask questions that you've always wanted to know the answers to, but you just don't have the cojones to do. We're no experts in this place. I think, yeah, as Ryan said, like sending an email. I think finding, other people to talk about your emotions to, close friends, partners, maybe other family members. I've connected loads with my cousin who I never had a relationship with growing up because she was 15 years older than me. But then when I had some issues of my own, we ended up speaking loads, and she was like pivotal to my recovery. Yeah, and sometimes I think you need to accept that your parents aren't going to offer you everything that you thought you might need from them.
The interesting thing about parents is, so our parents have also got a lot of unsaid, unresolved stuff with their own parents. So they're sort of sat on stuff for a long time. They're like, oh, I've never had my chance to have that conversation with their mum or dad. And they have their own probably sense of resentment in many ways. And then they have children of their own, which is obviously in this situation us. And then we start to develop our own version of that narrative. So only really when we have kids and they get a second shot being parents as the grandparents, that's when grandparents is the easiest job, isn't it? It doesn't come, like, you learn from your mistakes. You have a very different relationship with the grandkids.
Well, they say that, yeah, when grandparents get to then have a second shot at parenting or kind of making up for the mistakes that they made when they've learned more about life, because we're all just winging it, when you first have kids, and then when your kids have kids, then you're like, oh, okay, now I'm wiser, now I know what I'm doing, so I can have a really good relationship with them. But I guess that's sort of like steering slightly off course. I have actually had some real breakthrough moments with my mum, and we do talk a lot more now. And even, actually, she'll probably hate me for saying this, so she came to Leo's tennis lesson early on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
It was really important for me after I got unwell that I had a relationship with my mum that felt more like we were friends, like we were kind of on a level playing field and we could speak more honestly about things. Me and my brother like to wind my mum up about the fact that she's too picky, and that's why she's single, and we'd love for her to meet somebody that's really lovely. So actually, if anyone out there is listening that has an eligible eligible young bachelor, eligible middle-aged bachelor, then please do get in touch. Because I hear that the dating game is very tricky when you're at that stage in your life. And we didn't really believe her because, I haven't spent any time really on dating apps. But when she came to tennis, on the weekend, she showed me some of the screenshots of the people that she was being paired with. And we did have a laugh about it. And that was we were howling. And we've never howled like that before. And I was like, that is the kind of relationship I want with you. One where we can laugh about silly things like that, where we don't need to be reserved and you don't need to always play that parent role. So maybe if you want a kind of a closer relationship with your parents, you need to find some common ground and find some areas where you can laugh together.
That's what I want for Leo. I want to be his mate more than anything.
Yes. You want to feel like they can tell you anything. And I didn't have that relationship with my parents growing up. They were grown up. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's always just been the way it is as we kind of went through our own journeys.
I think us as the new generation, it's kind of on us to change that and shift that message a little bit. Do it differently. Doesn't mean that we're doing it better, but we're doing it differently. It's a different kind of relationship. And me and Leo have already got it because he said I'm his best mate this morning. Do
you remember that time when I was in the hospital and my mum, we ended up speaking about self-help books, God knows why.
Oh, she hated those.
And she absolutely hated them. And I don't think either of my parents would have ever done therapy. They've probably found their own ways of doing therapy.
I'd love to get Mike on this podcast.
I think so too. He should really have a fly on the wall.
I've never ever met someone who can tell a story so bloody well as your dad. Story doesn't actually have to be that great, but the way his delivery is so funny. And Sam actually has that same skill.
When he spoke about hiding under the desks, they used to do like war drills at school. No.
But every story, he could tell me about the paint drying on the wall and it would be funny. He's unique. Let's get him on the podcast. Shall I text him now? I've actually got an invitation.
No, but then, if he tries to be funny, it won't be funny.
No. Imagine him sat here with these headphones on, with his little fat chops hanging out.
Can we do it together then, so it's a group interview? Yeah,
we might have to get a bigger room, though, because he's...
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, he hasn't actually got a big belly anymore, has he? Thanks to the old Monjaro.
Yeah, he's also not a big guy.
Big energy though. He's main character.
I was going to say BD.
Don't say that. He's got main character energy.
Unacceptable.
Listen, I'm going to try the sign off. Here we go. Guys, thanks for listening to this week's episode. It's been very raw, very authentic. That is a snapshot into current situation at home. On Sunday morning, the YouTube full-length video will be going out, so you can hop on over there.
We might change it though.
Hang on, this is my
No,
time.
I'm just letting you guys know.
today.
We might change it. I think we'd like to get some feedback from you guys because I'm thinking... Sorry, why am I making it all about me? We are thinking collectively that midweek might be...
Just hand the trust over. Just let me do my job.
When would you like the YouTube to go live?
Foxy.
Come on, man. Why do you hate me so much? You'd actually... I'm going as far as to say, I don't think you'd even be alive if it wasn't for me. Are you meditating over there?
Trying to block out the guff.
You can't say words like guff.
Fucking see you next week.
Right. See you next week.
Thank you for proving my points in that podcast.